Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Crow's GameThing. The game I want to cover in this episode is a fairly recent title for the PS3 and the Xbox 360, Fist of the North Star, Ken's Rage. I myself had bought and played the PlayStation 3 version, mainly because of the controller. I mean, I think I'd rather play this with the PS3 controller, where the button layout I'm a little bit more familiar with. Now, before I go any further, I want to say this is a game I had been looking forward to playing for quite a while before its release. I am a pretty big Fist of the North Star fan, and the anime series is probably my favorite anime series I've ever seen. In fact, the 1986 Fist of the North Star movie was the very first anime I'd ever seen, period. Now, there have been a lot of Fist of the North Star games in the past, but many of them failed to capture what the anime was all about. And in fact, a lot of the early titles was just a side-scrolling adventure where Ken would just beat up guys that would just come from the sides of the screen, and and those games seemed fairly cheap to me. They were kind of cool, but at the same time they weren't really well defined. Now, from what I understand, this game is based on the same structure as the Dynasty Warriors games that became popular on the PlayStation 2. Now, just keep in mind that whatever I say in this video, I have not really played any Dynasty Warriors game. And that's because they never really looked that interesting to me. But when you throw Fist of the North Star at the Dynasty Warriors games, my eyes start opening up. Now, in this game, there are two main modes. They are Legend Mode and Dream Mode. I'll start explaining a little bit about Legend Mode first. Now, when you first start playing Legend Mode, you'll have only one character to choose from, and that's Kenshiro. But as you progress through the game, you'll unlock up to 4 more characters that you can play. In this mode, you'll be playing as the characters and following the events that happened during the anime series. More and less. There are a little bit of differences to the anime, but for the most part, it follows the anime series exactly. The way it'll work is you'll select a character, you'll get an opening movie, you'll get a text crawl that's read to you that explains the story a little bit, then a brief bit of dialogue between characters that'll foreshadow something upcoming. Then you'll get a chance to go through some menus and upgrade some moves, and actually purchase more moves and more abilities using skill points you can earn. And finally, you get put into the game where you can start playing. Now, this mode plays a lot like an old school beat 'em up. You just run around and kick as much ass as you can, basically. The game practically guides you through the game. If you beat up all the enemies in one area and you need to move on and there's multiple areas to go to, the game pretty much guides you by putting a green arrow on the map showing where you need to go. But you don't have to go that way if you don't want to. You could go another route and possibly find some hidden items. Now, during each level, there are 7 missions to do. Some of them will be obvious. There'll be things like protect the villagers or defeat the thugs. And some of them will be hidden. There'll be in hidden areas, or you don't even know you're doing the mission until you complete them. And if you're successful at doing these missions, you'll get bonus upgrades for your character. Also, there are items to pick up during each level. Usually they're hidden in like broken vending machines or boxes. Usually in boxes you can find health, like bread or meat, that'll increase your health. You'll find scrolls that'll increase your skill points, which you can later use to build up that character's abilities. And finally, there are bottles that are usually found at vending machines and jugs that are found in crates that'll increase your skill meter. And building up your skill meter allows you to do the character's signature moves if you like to. And these are pretty powerful moves that basically the game likes to stop and focus on. When you reach the end of a level, you'll encounter a boss who will make himself known, usually through a cinematic. Now, these boss characters have a completely different health bar than all the other characters. In the boss's health bar that's located at the bottom of the screen, you'll notice there are white ticks. In this case, there's only one, but several characters have multiple white ticks. And basically, when the health meter reaches that white tick, it'll stop at that point and give the boss an opportunity to power up or do some kind of event before you can continue actually hurting him. And once you get the boss past that last white tick, he'll continue to regenerate health up until that point, until he's defeated. And also these bosses like to attack hard and fast, and you pretty much have to stop them before they get a chance to do so. So basically these boss battles, you have to be really, really aggressive at, or you're gonna get your ass beaten. And once you finally do drain the entire boss's energy meter, you're not done yet. You have to get close to him and activate the quick time event to finish him off. When you start out, these quick time events aren't so bad. You only have to do 3 buttons, maybe 3 times. But as you go along, you get more and more and more buttons. And if you fail just one of them, then the boss will come back and gain at least 1/4 of his health back, and you'll have to fight him down to the end again and redo the quick time event. Well, that's enough about Legend Mode. Let's talk about Dream Mode. Dream Mode is actually unlocked once you start playing Legend Mode. And once you unlock all the characters there are to unlock, you'll have more characters to play with in this mode. The difference between this and Legend Mode is that in Dream Mode, the events that take place are things that could have happened if characters did things differently. The way the story unfolds is a lot like it does in Legend Mode, except now you have text that you have to read yourself, and that pretty much explains a bit more of what's going on. And instead of there being FMVs strewn throughout the game itself, there's only one at the beginning of each character's Dream Mode and one at the end. Other than that, the same wall of text that's read to you and character banter is still there. The gameplay itself is very different though, and I think this resembles the Dynasty Warriors games more so than the other mode did. I mean, it's still basically a beat 'em up where you run around and beat the hell out of people, but the structure of the game is different and you're no longer required to walk along a certain path. Basically what it boils down to is you and your allies running around the map trying to defeat the enemy. At certain points on the map there are bases. Now if you control a base, that produces warriors for your side, or the allies, and basically the enemy bases will churn out more and more enemies until you take over that base. Now you take over that base by just basically running over to that base and beating the hell out of those guys until they finally give up, and the base switches over to you, and that's pretty much it. You start producing allies at that point. Now a lot of the main characters from the show up in this mode as sub-bosses and major bosses, and if they're on your side, they can be a major ally as well. But the sub-bosses and major bosses in this mode are nothing like the Legend Mode. I mean, they are tougher than the regular enemies, but you don't have to worry about the environmental damage that you may have received, and also they don't regenerate their health once they get low, and the biggest thing of all is you don't have to do any quick time events to finish them off. The only annoyance you may have is the army of characters they have around them, especially if you're fighting at one of their bases. But you could easily lure them away if you want to and fight them in another area. Now normally when you start playing the Dream Mode, it gives you basically a lose criteria and a win criteria. Meaning, okay, you'll lose this round if this happens, if this character is defeated. Or you'll win this round if this person is defeated. But as you're playing the game, events can change, and your goals could easily change. I remember I lost one of these rounds because I let one character escape from the battlefield when I should have just ran after him and beat his ass. But I didn't do that. I took my time somewhere else, and I paid for it by losing the level. There is one more game mode that you can unlock, and that's Challenge Mode. Just really quickly, the reason you're not seeing any footage of that here is because all the footage I got is out of sync and won't work properly in my video editing software. So, but I really didn't play Challenge Mode all that much anyway. All it is basically a string of boss battles done in the style of the Legend Mode. And I'm not really too particularly fond of that mode, mainly because those boss battles take forever. And then you also have to do the quick time events on top of that. So, overall, what in particular did I like about this game? I like what the game is at its core, and that is basically just a flat-out beat-em-up game. You run around kicking everybody's ass. And on top of that, you don't have to worry about hurting your allies, because your attacks just go right through them anyway. I also like the selection of characters it gives you. I can't help but think that they could have offered more major characters for you to play as, but with the downloadable content as it is, I'm fairly certain they could offer that in the future. In fact, I think there is one piece of downloadable content right now that offers a new character, and I think it's just a thug, but just the fact that that's there is nice. But with the characters you have right now, I mean, there's about 8 of them, and they're all very diverse. Some of them are slow and powerful, and some of them are quick and take care of enemies from a distance, and a lot of them you have to come at. And, you know, there are different types of enemies, too. Like, there are some guys that have spikes all over them, so actually punching them with your fist will hurt you, and you have to take care of them using either some energy power from a distance. And therein lies where you have some characters that are better at defeating other characters than others. And it all seems to be kind of balanced out, to me, in my opinion. But the biggest plus I gotta give this game is how accurate it is to the anime. A lot of the characters' signature moves from the anime are there, and even in the dream mode, where there are events that didn't actually happen in the anime, I mean, if a character had changed its mind and did something different, I could see those scenarios playing out, and the characters reacting the way they did. Also, just one last quick thing that I liked about the game, and that is if you died in the legend mode, you basically started at pretty close of an area that you left off in. You don't have to backtrack that far. And on top of that, in any mode, if you die, you keep all the skill points that you earned. Also, just one last thing, is that the skill points you earn throughout the game for each character carry over from mode to mode. So there is no separate building up of a character between modes. It's just, you know, straight through. You never start with a depowered character again. And I really like that. But there are some things I didn't like about this game as well. The first thing I really didn't like was in legend mode, during the boss battles, how to finish off the boss, you had to do the quick time button event. And I really thought that was really pointless. I mean, you beat the character already. It should just cut into the scene where you're finishing off the character. I don't know why it forces you to just hit all the buttons in the right order. And then on top of that, if you fail, the boss gets his energy back, or at least part of it, and you have to beat him up all over again. I just didn't like that at all. The second major problem with this game is the camera. I felt that you had to basically fight the camera all the time in this game. I mean, you're constantly spinning the camera to find enemies, to find out what's behind you, and on top of that, there's some areas where the camera just automatically pulls all the way back, and sometimes it just makes it hard to see what's going on around you. Especially if there's enemies behind you and you want to start attacking them, and you turn around, well, you start attacking forward the screen, and you don't know what you're actually doing. And that pretty much sums up everything I have to say about this game. I know in some professional reviews of this game, it got like mediocre scores, and you know, one of the complaints they had was that the sceneries were all the same, but basically that just, to me, is what the anime is. It's a post-apocalyptic world. Another complaint I've heard is that the game is too repetitive. But, you know, it's an old school beat 'em up. To me, at least it feels like an old school beat 'em up. And, you know, that's basically the goal of the game. You run around and beat the hell out of everybody. Now, for the record, I did play this game until I got all the trophies for it. So I did get the Platinum trophies for this. And all in all, I think it took me between 60 and 70 hours. And that's pretty much how much time I invested in this game. Each level takes between half an hour and an hour, and I think that's a good amount of time to play the game. Well, I think I've reached the point where I've rambled on about this game long enough. If you can tell, I really like this game. I played it from the time I got it for a couple, 2 months, basically. I really didn't play anything else, and it grabbed my attention, and now that I'm done with it, I'm going to move on to something else. There are 5 downloadable packs for this game, at least on the PSN network. And so if I ever decide to revisit this game, I'll probably definitely be downloading those packs and trying those out. Until then, that is all. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.
You are already dead.